Cheers. I think it's the first of your domestic signings that's been confirmed this week in Jordan Lane. I think it's the first of your domestic ones, isn't it? Just tell us a bit about why he's been a target for Cass.
Well, he's a quality English back rower for a start. He's still very, very young, but with that, he's got plenty of experience. He's been there 9 years at Hull, whatever it is, and I just think it's a really good fit for us. We've been looking for an athletic back rower, a durable back rower. I know he's had that that injury this year with the arm, but he's back playing some really good rugby, and I know Hull FC were very, very keen on keeping him, and he's just he's a really, really good rugby league player. He can play both edge and middle, and he can kick a ball as well if need be. So it's I think it's another significant signing for us, and we can see with the quality that we're bringing in, our intentions next year aren't we know we're not here to make any numbers up. We're here to compete really hard and be be in and around that 6 next year.
You don't see many 4-year deals being handed out these days. Is that a statement and a nod towards growing this group organically over the next 3-4 years?
Yeah. I just think it's going to just give us that that stability, mate, isn't it? And we signed Blake to a long term, and there'll be a few other announcements that'll be long term. We don't want to be chopping and changing every 12 months. I think it's important that we tie down all our influential players and quality players, and Jordan's certainly one of those guys. Is a young kid that's come through that whole system, and he's gone on to big and better things, and he's done very, very well at Hull, and we're hoping we see the best version of Jordan Lane for the next 4 years at Castleford, and hopefully we're involved in those big games at the end of the year, or the Challenge Cup games, the big Challenge Cup games. So I think it's exciting for Jordan. It's very rare that you see a Hull lad leave Hull. I had a good conversation with Kirk Yeaman, and last Saturday when we all met up at the Challenge Cup do. He's a player that could have and probably should have moved. He had plenty of opportunities to move, and it's like I say, it's very rare that you see a Hull kid leave Hull. But I'm glad Jordan has. He's a fantastic human being, and he's got still got a massive future ahead of him.
We've spoken in recent weeks about the challenges of bringing players in from overseas. As director of rugby, what is the challenge of signing a domestic player? Because given the fact they play in the same competition, you should know more about these players than you do other players. Is there something that you look at that's different to overseas players when you look at the domestic targets?
No, it's very similar to you do your background checks. You look at games played and games missed, and there's not really a great deal of difference. I think the biggest challenge for us with the domestic ones is everybody's after the same players. Everybody's trying to fill the roster with good top quality English rugby league players. So you tend to pay maybe a little bit more than that you envisaged. I'm not saying we have done with this one, but I think to bring the quality in, you've got to be in the market, and we've made it attractive for Jordan. I think the 4 years has given Jordan that stability, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult to pick up a top quality English player. At the moment, the market's, the stock for a top quality English player is very, very high, and for both back rowers and especially front rowers, front rowers, value at the moment is or certainly over the last couple of years has skyrocketed, because everybody's fighting for that same person. So it's very, very similar checks to what we do with the overseas. There's no no real science behind it all. Just the fact that you make sure you do your checks on the player's history and he just fit the bill of what Qareqare wants in a rugby league player. He's athletic, he's durable, he can play in several positions. So another significant signing for us that we're over the moon about.
Just on the subject of ins and outs, there's reported interest from Hull in Sam Wood. He's contracted having beyond this season anyway, but would he be allowed to leave if that interest went somewhere?
Well, I've not received any, I've not received any interest, but I've seen the reports. As it stands at this moment in time, Sam Wood's a Castleford Tigers player that's got 12 months on his contract. But like everything, if a player was to come to myself or to Ryan and they said, "Oh, that might have got a chance of a 2-3 year deal at another club," then we'd have to look at that and just weigh everything up, and we've got to make the right decision for the club, whatever that is. But yeah, I've had no contact from the player or the player's agent, but I'm aware of the report.
Josh Sim, we know will leave at the end of the season. The club have confirmed that recently. Would you agree that he's probably one of the group, or this year's group, that at the end of the season could probably look himself in the mirror and say, "I've had not a bad season"?
Yeah, definitely. It started probably a little bit slower than he'd hoped, but I think what you see is what you get with Josh. Is first and foremost is a really good human being. He's a nice kid and wants to win every week. That's not been the case this year, but he's a player that he goes with our best wishes. We did have a brief conversation with Josh. But we'd obviously signed the players that we'd signed behind the scenes, and we'd not made that announcement yet, and we were trying to, potentially move a couple of players on to help with that. But Josh needed to make a decision that were right for him and his partner, and I wasn't going to stand, and the club wasn't going to stand in his way. So he goes with our best wishes. I think he's been an outstanding individual for us this year. His yardage carries have been great. He's a good finisher, and I wish him well at Catalans. It's an unbelievable club to go to at such a young age, and I know, having spoken to Joel, I've had a good conversation again with Joel today. I know what he's trying to do there at Catalan Dragons, and I wish both Josh and Joel well in the future.
2 games to go, buoyed by last week's derby victory. Zac Cini and Jason Qareqare are back in the 21. Have those two got bona fide chances of featuring on Friday?
Probably not, mate. It's probably a week too soon for both. I think confidence-wise with Zac, with that cheekbone, and Jason just we named him in the 21, mate, just because we're literally down to obviously losing Jerry Simbikin last week. We're down to the 19 players, but I'm hopeful both those individuals will play next week. Zac's just got to finish some testing, do some contact, and Jace has just got to have another full week of training with us. He's got through what he needed to get through this week, but I just think Freddie's just come too soon. So we look forward to both those guys next week.
Just lastly from me, what's the challenge you face at Wigan? How do you beat Wigan at Wigan?
Yeah, listen, it's we go there with a fighting chance, JD. It's we know what to expect. They're just so physical, and we just got to try and match that physicality. We take, we go there with a lot of hope. I think the last time we played them, we more than matched them physically. And they had a pretty strong team out that day. I looked at the squad yesterday when it got announced, and it's not far off the best squad, and they're looking to build some momentum going into those playoffs. And But yeah, we go there with a fighting chance, with nothing to lose. We'll go there and play like we played last week, with a smile on his face, and play with some real positive energy. And if that gets us the win, happy days. And it's important for us that we back up a performance. We've not been able to do that all season. Every time we've won a game, I think Ryan Carr alluded to it, we concede an average of something like 34 points after a win, which is not acceptable. So we've just got to go there and turn up with that same intent, that same attitude, and just use the fact that we're a little bit busted as a just there to try and galvanise us a bit, mate, and go there and give it everything we've got. That's all I ask as a coach. That's all the fans want. That's all we want as a club. And we've got a team there that's going to give everything tomorrow.